first saw one of these on, I think it was the first morning they were announced actually. I was in Superbooth in 2022, I think it was May 2022. So that's almost exactly 3 years ago to when I'm making this video now. And I just happened to be walking past the Teenage Engineering bus. They had this little field bus and a little setup, looked like they were on safari, obviously to do field recordings. And they opened the doors to the bus as I walked past, and I think was actually the first person to get a demo of it, although my SIM card did die and I never got to upload that particular video. I did one the next day. They were very kind and they did another video for me the next day. But it was quite divisive on release. It was over £1,500, maybe even more back then, which was a big increase on the original, which had also recently had a price increase. This does have an awful lot more memory than the original. It's now stereo and there are more tape types, more effects and more synth engines, but these are just a few of the comments I got on that Superbooth demo video, and clearly a lot of people weren't impressed by the price. At the time I did email them asking for a demo unit, but nothing came through. And like a lot of people back then, I couldn't afford the £1,500. So it has taken me 3 years to get hold of one. I've had this, well, it's a little Christmas present to myself. So I've had this since December, and just because I've been playing around with it, trying to understand it, to do this video, it's taken me a few months to get around to actually putting something on camera. They are still over £1,500 brand new. Thomann has them for £1,666. Let's hope that's not the price of entry to hell. Anderton's in the UK has got them for £1,589, and in the US, Perfect Circuit has them at $2,000. So it is a premium bit of kit. Although you can find used bargains, a quick search on eBay shows you can pick them up used for about £1,000. Here's a couple that have sold recently, plus the originals go for under £500 now. But £1,000 isn't to be sniffed at, so you want to make sure you like it before you buy it, I suppose, which is why we all watch hundreds of demos. And because I've watched the same demos as you have, I'm not going to go into all the detail that Loopop did. Red Means Recording did loads of stuff over COVID, didn't he? And really, really good, interesting stuff on the OP-1. So there's no point in doing all that. I thought in this video, I'm just going to give you my personal take on this after having it for a few months now. I was thinking about an in-depth comparison against the other studios in a box of demoed, like the Simple Trek, the Polyend Play and the Tracker and the ELZ1 Play. But it just became a really dry list of functions and parameters. So put these notes on my blog on the website, and I'll throw a link in the description if you just want to have a brief look through that to get some specs. One thing I've yet to try is the Dirty Wave M8 or the Dirty Wave Mate that I read about while putting this together actually, and this looks great and people are really raving about it. But it doesn't have a crazy phasey cow or drumming gorillas, so I'm not quite sure how good it really can be. And there's just so much out there, each with slightly different focuses. You've got to think about your own use case about what you might want to buy. So I did draw some conclusions when I was making notes for that video that I never made. So the OP-1 Field, for example, is a beautiful sounding ideas pad and sampler. It's a premium product with amazing build quality, a luxury creative station. But it's not so great for completing tracks. Arranging on the tape can be a bit of an IQ test, and having everything processed as audio can get a bit frustrating at times. The Simple Trek, on the other hand, is a bit like a mini Ableton, and it's easy enough to write whole tracks on it. It's nowhere near as fun to use as the OP-1. The interface is a little bit fiddly and the screen's quite small, but it does have heaps of charm. The Polyend Play is great. I love these Polyend things. It's great for sequencing and having loads of variations on patterns, plus the live effects are massive fun. It also integrates really well with everything else in the studio via MIDI. I did make this track that you can hear in the background using samples on the Play and loads of tracks of MIDI on the Waldorf Blofeld. It's sort of got a song mode via pattern chaining, but as the name suggests, this is very much a cool jamming tool. The Tracker, though, I think is much better for arranging tracks via its song mode. The Tracker and the Play are similar in lots of ways, particularly the Plus versions of both, which have got the same synth engines, but the Tracker's strength is in sequencing precision. It doesn't have the live audio effect of the Play, but you can set up loads of live tweakable parameters and effects in the performance mode or the perform mode. And this is another one that's great for completing whole tracks in song mode. The ELZ1 play, or the ELZ1 play, is fun for messing around with different synth engines. Again, more for ideas than for completing tracks. It's not on the same level as the OP-1, it's not quite as fun to use, and the build is nowhere near the premium finish you get on the OP-1, but you'll be saving yourself £1,000. So a massive saving there, and you still have access to various synth engines and effects. Also, I didn't mention the Roland SH4D in this. It didn't occur to me because it doesn't have sampling or song mode, but it really is a lovely little studio in a box. Tons of fun to be had in that. This is me making a little Detroit style demo in 10 minutes. And for that, I got an honorary membership of the Detroit Techno Club from no other than the legend that is Kenny Larkin. So it does hold a really special place in my heart, and I'll do some more with that soon as well. Doesn't matter what I do, I can't help but compare things. But if you can imagine a video with all those different units with me trying to compare bits and bobs on them, it just became a bit of a mishmash and then a list of parameters and functions. So in this, I'm going to do the old Top Gear trick of telling you why I think this is so brilliant. And then I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's so brilliant after all. And then I'm going to draw those conclusions I've just told you. I really should work on the structure, shouldn't I? But yeah, my thoughts on this. So we'll start off with why I think it is so brilliant. Firstly, the build quality on this is superb. You really can't floor it. If Apple made a studio in a box, it would be something like this. And it'd be just as expensive, if not more. You pay a premium, but it does feel premium. The screen's high res and you get all the information, or almost all the information you need. It's got audio over USB-C. The inbuilt speaker is decent enough, considering the size of it. It's got audio over USB-C. The inbuilt speaker is decent considering its size. If I just play this, try and get my mic a bit closer. It's not going to win any hi-fi awards, but it's not crap. The inbuilt mic is pretty clear as well. It has got a separate mic input, and you can use headphones that have got a little mic as well. Its battery life is about 24 hours. It lasts just for hours and hours. Every now and then you plug it in, but I don't think it's actually run out of battery yet. It's got Bluetooth and can act as a USB host. This is it with the keystep plugged directly into it. The keystep's also being powered by the OP-1. So as a piece of hardware, it feels like it's been really well thought through. It ticks loads of boxes, and sound-wise, it's really good as well. So I mentioned the screen being really clear a second ago, and showing loads of information, but you don't actually need loads of information on this. Everything's pretty simple. It's got lots of things in here, but everything's pretty simple. It reminds me a little bit of like Juno 106 or a Mode Prodigy, in that there's limited things you can do with it. It hasn't got an infinite sound palette, but no matter what you do with it, you seem to get something nice. It's hard to make it sound bad, and that feels like the whole thing's being curated. When you get it, it's got some nice drum samples in there. All the presets are really nice. It feels like time and effort have gone in to making everything that comes out of this, when you get it out the box, sounding really good. And you know, that's not to be sniffed at. I'll run through some of the functions on this so you know what I'm doing as I'm tweaking stuff, but like I said, I'm not going to go through every function on it. There's loads of demos of that already. But essentially, you've got 4 modes. You've got synths, you've got drums, you've got the tape, and you've got the mixer. So if we go into synths, each of these here has now got a different preset on it, and those presets can be any of the synth engines. Press shift, hit your preset. Here's all your different synth engines. Oh, take your hand off shift. So there's a fair amount in there. We've even got a vocoder. Come to 2, there's a vocoder. I have tried the vocoder with the mic and it does work. And then if you look at the knobs here, the graphics are color coded to the knobs, so it basically shows you what each of the knobs is going to affect. So in here, for example, waveforms are blue, stereo field is in ochre, filter frequencies in grey. And the resonance is in red. So although there's tons in it, it's actually quite simple to get your head around how it works. On each of those synth voices then, we've got the voice itself on 1, on 2 we've got the envelope. And these settings 1, 2, 3 and 4 are the same for all of them. This is the effect, turn the effect off. Shift, go into the menu, and then we've got all the different effects we've got in there. This is one we had in the intro. I really like this phone effect. Yeah. Go back into there, shift again, that's add a delay, put in with that. So, turn it up. So they've all got unique interfaces. We saw Mother there, didn't we? That was the reverb, and this is a really nice sounding reverb. It's new to the OP-1 field. Change the colour. Again, the graphics, so you can hear that. Cut out all the high frequencies. Now they're all in, and now we've cut out the low frequencies. But it's sort of easy to understand what's happening, even though it's a bit odd. It's a bit odd. It's just not standard, is it? Add some distance. Got a gate in here as well. I really hope some of this is coming out on the camera, because from here it looks black. Then with each of these, we've got a sequencer, these little dots at the end. So, and shift again, we've got lots of different types of sequencers. If I come to this one, because you might have seen it before, but it's quite cool. I've left those balls in there since earlier, actually. If I, right, there you go. So, it only makes a sound if it hits one of those, what would you call them, lines. Make the balls more bouncy. Spin it backwards. Have more or less G-force in there. Let's open it up. And I think that's a good representation of what the whole thing's like. It's got these weird little bits and bobs in there. You've got like a phaser, that's a cow. In fact, let's show you that. Let's pick another synth sound. This is nice, this phaser one. Put the effects on. And when you first get out of the box, you've got to try and work out what each of those parameters do. It is in the instructions, they do list them, but they don't really explain what's happening. And again, that's part of the fun with something like this, is that you do explore it. So let's go into that tone there. Let's put the envelope on. Let's, I like this, the fact that to make the release longer, you turn it left rather than sort of like turning it down, but you're moving that little blob there. So compared to everything else that I've used, this is just easier to get to grips with. It's easier to get in there and easier to start playing. And it's more interesting than a lot of things as well. And there's loads of different synth engines and loads of effects. So we start off from a really nice place, and those sequences as well, they're quite fun. But we go to the next button over here. This is the drums. And this works very similar to the way the the way the synths work, in that we've got different presets here. This is the synth drum machine it's got built in. But the rest of them I've got loaded at the minute are samples. If we go Shift and 1, we can see what we've got in there. So here's one that I've loaded in myself. And actually, it's really easy to load them in yourself. If you go to the Teenage Engineering website, go to apps and go to the drum utility, these are just drum sounds. You drop into this, you place them where you want to place them on the keypad, change them from single play to looping over here on the right, or in the choke group. As long as all those don't add up to more than 12 seconds, it just loads them in. It's quite simple. So if we come back in here, and if we zoom out to that, let's trying to remember what zooming out is. You can see all of them are just on a single file. So there's all those drum samples. It's put them all into one file. I have no idea when that's going to stop playing. But if we come back into here, we can see the drum machine. So you can go and you can tweak drum parameters yourself for each of the different keys. Has got different parameters on there. And we got 2 sets of parameters using the Shift key. Again, tons to dig into, but a relatively simple interface. We've also got the sequencer on the drums. Hit the sequencer and we've got these 2 gorillas. Can play 2 patterns at the same time. But you're not stuck with the 2 gorillas, as it were. You do have all the others as well. So you could have tombola on the drums. Let's try that, shall we? If we come on that, let's add some G-force to it. So you can have a drummer falling down the stairs. So again, nicely curated sounds in here. If we turn the sequencer off and just go into number 1, which is one I really like, it's called, is it minimal or something like that? Oh, not drum box, it's on the drum. Microscopic, that's it. This is lovely. So, okay. If we just place something again, so let's go back to the finger pattern. And to change the tempo, just to show you this, you've got this tempo button here. Again, blue is the tempo. I'll put it back at 120. I'll explain why in a second. And then beat match and MIDI sync and the like. You've got tape speed in there as well. And what the tape speed is going to do to your BPM. Let's put it back on 1, shall we? As we're talking about the tape speed, let's move over to the tape. On here, we've got 4 tape machines. If we go Shift and tape, we can see the 4 different machines we've got. Got a mini disc, 4-track, vintage 4-track, and a studio 4-track, which all give different qualities to the recording. And if we look on the top right there, they're the tapes I've created. So we can load tape 1 or tape 2. And each of those tapes contains the recordings. We've got 8 tapes in this. The original OP-1 only had a single tape. Each of those 8 tapes can record 4 tracks in stereo. You load in the tape and it loads in all the audio on that tape. It's a bit like loading in an old Logic program and all you've got in there is audio. No sequences whatsoever, just the audio, as if you've picked up, I'll put it over there because I've actually got my 8 tracks being fixed at the minute. So I've got some 8-track tapes over there, but it's literally like you've got the tape and you put the tape in, but you don't have access to any of the parameters on the synths. They're all separate. The synths, it's a little bit like you've got the tape machine over there and you've got the synths over there. And when you load in your tape, your synths don't change. You've got to change the synths yourself. So that's a little bit of an odd one. It'd be nice if you could actually, when you load in a tape, you load it in all the synth settings as well, because I know this is like a throwback to Porter Studios and like a modern interpretation of it, but one of the biggest pains, I'm talking about the good bits here, I should have said this for the next bit, but one of the biggest pains about doing stuff on tape was that nothing was saved. So if you move from one project to the next, you had a couple of hours of grief getting everything up and running, and you never quite got it the same. And that grief is in here as well. Anyway, the way it works, we've got 4 tracks, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can see if I've recorded anything on each of those tracks. We can fast forward through the tape. You can see I've recorded bits there, or you can shift to points on that tape so you can get looping points spot on. If you play it, go to the mixer, we can mute things. I've moved over to the mix there, but just going back to the tape for a second, come to the tape, you've got the in-point, out-point looping, you've got various things on each of these, or various functions on each of these buttons as well. And now we go over to the mixer and we can mute stuff. 2 is an EQ, got the different bands here. 3 takes you to the effects, just like it does on the synths. So I haven't got a loop point set there. Let's go back into the tape. Let's make sure we're looping. I've set my loop point somewhere completely random while I've been demoing. So let's set the loop point. So 1 and then 2. So if we play it, go back into the main, then back into the effects. This is what I was doing again in that intro. All sorts of beautiful weirdness. So I like all those weird effects you can get. The fact that you can just go in and tweak the whole track really simply is very cool. And then we've got a master drive. And there's a compressor in there as well. So all in all, it's a really interesting, creative tool. It's very simple to get things that sound great and make you sound like some sort of musical genius really quickly. The simple things I say, because to make things more complex is more complex. To make things that have got more than 4 tracks on them, you can bounce down the tracks now on this. I don't think you could do it on the earlier versions. So you can make more complex things, but the fact that it uses the tape makes it a little bit more frustrating than I think it has to be. So that brings me to the bit of the video where I tell you the bits that I'm not so keen on. And as you heard before, tape is the main thing. It feels a little bit gimmicky, to be honest. And I can understand when they first did it, why they did it. It was quite cool. But now when you want to do a bit more complex things, it just feels like there's easier ways to do things. Now, I think I understand why they've done it from a technical standpoint, because you can only have one sound at a time that you're actually playing on the synth itself or the drums itself. Everything else is played back via audio. It's just playing back 3 audio files and what you're doing. So it means that you can have really, really good sound quality in there without really hammering the CPU. So a very clever way of doing it. It just means that once you go, say you've got a sequence, for example, is another thing. When you've got a sequence running and you like your sequence and you change it to do some other notes, you've lost the original notes. You can't save your sequences. They've gone forever, which I quite understand the whole concept of being able to, just start afresh every time. But sometimes presets are a good idea. And if you spent a long time programming in 999 steps on the endless sequencer, then you might be a bit upset if you've got to reprogram in those 999 steps. So that's something that would be really nice if they could do that, just add saving of sequences. I can understand why you can't do it with other bits and bobs, but maybe with that it'd be nice. Also on the tapes, you get 8 tapes. It would be nice if And each of those 8 tapes has got 6 minutes if you could just have as many tapes as you wanted. So that I don't think anyone's really going to do a whole 6-minute track on this. I think you take what you've done on this, you take it to your door eventually, and then create a track out of it. You can do really simple things on this, but you want to make a track out of it. If you want to put vocals on it, for example, anything like that, you're going to need to stick it into your door. So having just a 6-minute maximum and having 8 with the 6-minute maximum doesn't make much sense to me. It'd be great if you could have as many tapes as you wanted up to the limit of the memory. Again, it might not be possible physically with the way this is programmed and the chips in there and whatever else, I don't know, but that will be a vast improvement. Also, if we come into the drums, we've got the drum sequencers on there. You can't create drum patterns live, so you couldn't create a really simple beat, for example, like you would with an XLX style programmer where you just have it looping. You have the kick, you have the hatch, you have the bits and bobs. It just doesn't seem to do that. You can go into this and you can program each of the steps individually. I've just deleted one there, don't know what was on it. I'll never get that back now, but we can shift and add that, and there you go. So if I play it now. So programming really simple drums can be a bit tedious at times. It'd be nice if there was an XOX style thing, just so you could get stuff up and running and then go and tweak it. I understand that the idea is that you play the tape and then you play your drums onto the tape while it's recording and you overdub stuff. But if you get things wrong, then you've got to go back and there's no undo and stuff like this. It just becomes, as I say, a little bit tedious. But, you know, it is what it is. It's not the same as everything else, as I keep on saying. If I press shift when I'm in programming mode, and I've deleted that again, so add something you can add more than, oh, I've deleted that there, and move across. Move across, or shift and move across, and then you delete stuff or add stuff, So yeah, I still get myself a little bit confused with it, and there's no parameter locking, so you're not getting an Electron style control. But if you want that, you get an Electron box, don't you? Overall though, the experience is a positive one, but that is quite a list of things that I'm not happy about. Some of them could potentially be updated, others I doubt they could, a bit like the looping and the audio and stuff like that. So how can you justify the price of something that you're not 100% happy with when it's, you know, it's a £1,500 bit of kit? Well, it's really hard to do. You could get a laptop and all the accessories you need, and then you've got an infinite palette of sounds. You could buy a Polyend Play plus other bits and bobs. You could save yourself £1,000 and get an ELZ1 Play. But there's something about this that is just really, really compelling. No other setup offers so much in such a portable format. Here, I'm playing it outside to unnecessarily hammer that point home. But, and this is a big but, I really can't justify the price to anyone. I can't honestly say I've spent this money and it's worth it. But then again, I've got a friend, he's got an Audi S8, I think it's called, the car. It's an amazing car. He spends more on that car than I spend on my mortgage a month. I think he's crazy. I'd never tell him that, although he's now going to watch this and find out. But I spend an awful lot of money on synths. He thinks I'm crazy, but he doesn't criticize me for it. So there's things that you spend your money on that you like, and I like this. I'm sort of justifying it to you. I can't justify this purchase to you. It all depends on your own situation. I spent more money than I spent on this on a holiday with my daughter in January. It was a ski holiday, so that's why it was so expensive for a weekend away. But it's something I like, it's something I love, and isn't that what we're meant to do with our money? I've got a 14-year-old car, but I've got loads of synths. So that's where I'm coming from this. I can't really justify it to you, but I can justify it to myself. So I hope you found that interesting. I found it interesting. As I say, I've spent ages trying to think, you know, about a video for it and doing various things. And in the end, I thought just an honest breakdown of what I like, what I don't like, and if I'm keeping it or not. And I am keeping it. I do like it. It is a sexy bit of kit. Well, I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere. I hope it's added to the pool of knowledge that's out there on the OP-1 and the OP-1 field. And if you did enjoy it, do subscribe, ring the bell, do all those other bits and bobs. If you are thinking of buying one, do click on my affiliate links. It all helps to support the channel. Obviously, I get a small percentage, and as it's an expensive bit of kit, I'll get slightly more than I'd get on something from Behringer, which is nice. Anyway, as I say, share the love, check out my starskycar.com website, and most of all, thanks for staying to the very end. I really hope you got something from that, and I'll see you next time.